This video is to give you a few tips and tricks for how to write your source essay or position paper. So basically what has happened is a few people have asked for some guidance on how to write the position paper, and I just wanted to make this video. Now, I would also highly recommend that even if you've written your source analysis, you go back and watch that video, because all of the tips on how to analyze a source are also in that video. This is going to be more about the structure of the essay. Now, the first thing you have to know about a source essay is that, of course, you get a source. But the sources tend to be a lot simpler than in the source analysis, because the point of a source essay is not so much to analyze, but to argue. Now, the fact that it's simpler actually makes it harder because there's less to talk about. So this is a previous source. It's the one that's linked on the homepage of D2L, which is great because then you can look at the exemplars for what makes an excellent, a proficient, a satisfactory, a limited, and a poor. So what does it say? Success is the result of individual initiative and self-reliance. Those who lack these qualities are destined to depend on government support. Now, what you want to do is start by stating the perspective of the author. And I usually start, to keep it simple, when we look at the above source, we can tell that the author believes blank. And then you fill that in. We know that this is what the author believes because. Then you can continue. Then you can start to say, well, some people would say that the author is correct because of this, while other people would say he's wrong because of this. But when we look at A, B, and C, we should either agree or disagree with the source. So what does that look like? Now, again, you're going to want to, when you address the source, take out snippets. Don't quote the whole source. And then you need to reword and relate. So how would I do what I just said with this specific source? When we look at the above source, we can tell that the author believes in a classical liberal, neoconservative, right-wing perspective on the economy. And what I just did there is I name dropped 3 terms, all that mean roughly the same thing, and apply to this. Classical liberal, neoconservative, right-wing. We know that this is the author's perspective because he says success is a result of, and I would put this in quotes, individual initiative. And for the author, an individual initiative would be the ability to start a business, to chase down a career, to apply themselves to create great things. The author would look at someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who came to this country with nothing and then chased his dream and became a multi-millionaire. Or J.K. Rowling, who wrote a book on welfare. These are all people who showed the initiative and became wealthy. We also know that he says the people who lack these qualities are going to be on government support. And this is what I mean by rewording. When he mentions government support, he means welfare, AISH, which is a Canadian term, Alberta Independence Support, something like that, or unemployment, welfare, something like that. And he thinks that that is wrong. So, now that I've analyzed it, I've put the key terms in quotes, I've said what they mean. Well, some people would disagree with this source. These are left-wingers and modern liberalists, people like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who believed that the government had a role in taking care of the people. These are people who believed in equality of outcome, while the source would believe in equality of opportunity. Bing, bing, two more course terms right there. Again, you want to constantly be dropping course terminology. So I just said some people would agree and some people would disagree, and I gave the reasons. Or I gave, should I say, the people. Now, if I wanted to add reasons, I'm just going to restart that from the beginning. Some people would agree with this, and they would support it because they believe in classical liberalism, and they would show that countries in which don't have a lot of social welfare programs, people will often work harder to take care of themselves, and they feel that government programs are often abused. While people who disagree with the source feel that some people are incapable of taking care of themselves and need government support. Now I'm done the two sides. Now I have to pick my side. And I can either strongly agree, strongly disagree, or somewhat agree or somewhat disagree. Strongly agree means all three arguments are going to be in favor of this source. Strongly disagree, all three arguments are going to be against it. Somewhat would be two in favor, one against, or two against, one in favor, depending on which side you end on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for this source, I'm going to somewhat disagree. So that's going to say I'm a moderate left-winger. So the key thing now is I have to write my thesis statement. My thesis statement should be my position and my three reasons, and I will name drop the arguments I'm about to include, but I'm not going to go into it. So I want to make this part really clear. Now, guys, I know I'm spending a lot of time on the introduction. The introduction paragraph, if you nail this, the rest of the entire essay falls into place. So I'm thinking I'm going to be somewhat against. So I'm going to talk about the Great Depression. I'm going to talk about public health care and Tommy Douglas. And then I'm going to talk about maybe government misspending and Doge cuts or something like that. So from the beginning, I'm going to structure the whole argument. But you're going to notice I'm going to have three separate reasons with three separate case studies, which will be the three separate body paragraphs. So from the top, when we look at the above source, we can tell that the author is strongly in favor of classical liberalism, neoconservatism, or right-wing politics, the kind of politics that were embraced by Ronald Reagan or Margaret Thatcher. We know that this is their perspective because they think that success is a result of, in quotes, individual initiative. By individual initiative, they mean the ability to go and find success for themselves without the support of government institutions. They also think that the people who lack individual initiative are the people who take government support. And by government support, they are referring to welfare, unemployment, and other social programs. You can tell by the way that they have labeled people on those programs as lacking this quality that the author is not in favor of people using those programs. Now, some people who agree with this would argue that government programs are often promoting things that are not popular. For example, government programs will be used on welfare and unemployment insurance and are often seen as being taken advantage of by people who do not work. The people who disagree with this source would feel that those programs are necessary for people who, simply put, cannot take care of themselves, even if for a short period of time. In the final analysis, this part's my thesis, I think we should moderately reject this source, and the evidence I will support is the importance of government involvement, or modern liberalism, during the Great Depression, for universal health care, while being careful that we are not overly intrusive with our government spending because of what happened during the 1970s. Done. Now again, it's not as worded as much as I would like, but I'm doing this off the top of my head, so cut me some slack. So my first paragraph, I'm going to talk about the Great Depression. Now, I'm not going to go over each paragraph, but the key thing to a body paragraph, you're just telling a story. You've already come up with your position and your reason. We're somewhat rejecting this. My reason is Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the Great Depression. Now I just need to tell the story.